Jasmy AI, I want to give you a shout out, sir. Shout out to the one and only Samuel Kim, aka Jasmy AI. If you don't know who he is, you can follow him over on X, and basically here he is. Um, he can be followed at Samuel Kim. Okay, he says that Genki Oda, yes, you know how many times I covered Genki Oda, drops Japan Alpha. He says, quote, as one example, in Japan, customer assets are managed with a virtually 100% cold wallet due to self-regulation, and this measure has worked. And no hacking damage has occurred from domestic businesses since 2020 when he introduced it, I should say. Now, there's a full article on this. I'm going to take you there. Before I do, I want to blow this up. And like it mentions, in Japan, customer assets are what? They are basically mandated to be managed with virtually 100% segregation and with security measures in place. Shows the example of a hot wallet going to a cold wallet, right? Like the ledger. And by the way, make sure if you need a cold storage solution, you can get a discount in regards to the decent wallet, right? All in the description. But fiat currencies mandated to be fully held in trust with trust companies, slash banks. Customer crypto assets have to be managed by cold wallet. So what exactly is this all about? Is it a nothing burger? Don't think so. And basically speaking, there was so much to be shared here. Now, I want to get into this for a moment. I want to give a shout out to this guy. His name is, MS. Okay. In his email, he says to me basically that he has some info in regards to, Kddi. And he feels as though there's just too much there. But he didn't have anything to connect it to, for example, Jasmy. And I thought, well, neither do I. But as I saw this announcement and I also got more into it, I was like, aha. With what MS had to present and combine it with this, we do have something to connect. And that's why I wanted to elaborate a little bit more about it and have two Jasmy segments tonight instead of just one. So let's go ahead and full screen this. Shout out to MS. Really do appreciate you. And I want to get into this because I agree with Samuel Kim, Jasmy AI. This is some alpha. This is some big news from the one and only Genki Oda. We've done deep dives about Genki Oda. If you're not caught up on that, you're more than welcome to watch all that material, but check out what it mentions here specifically as we get more into it. So, as you can see, Hong Kong Web3 Festival 2024, Asian crypto markets, and the trends, spring 2024, basically we're in that, right? This is posted on April 6th, a few days ago. This is Genki Oda. Now, for all those that don't know who he is, you got to keep in mind SBI Japan. He's got the connection with the FSA, which is like, Japan's version of the SEC, and of course the JVCEA. We're talking about Regulation City, but embracing it, right? Not like our SEC. That's Genki Oda. So yes, SBI Japan. We even mentioned BitPoint. I think even Bajit. So many connections to Jasmy. And just in case, you want to see something which like, did they actually have a sit down with Jasmy? I'll give you those references just in case you're a new person or just in case you forgot about some of this stuff. Let's get more into this specifically. So Genki Oda mentions that he was invited to participate in the Web3 festival held in Hong Kong last year. It was one of the largest crypto events in Asia with a total of 50,000 participants over 4 days. The venue was very lively. It was the first large-scale event since the end of crypto winter. But when he actually attended, he realized that the market could get even hotter. He also learned that the industry that he was in was able to recognize a trend, so he wanted, of course, to share it. Again, this is from Japanese to English translation. It's pretty good for the most part, but there's going to be some parts where maybe it gets kind of lost in translation a little bit. So Genki Oda mentions that, first of all, he wants to let people know that he felt after attending this event how serious the Hong Kong authorities are about the crypto market. Think about that statement and think about what happened with Jasmy on the second largest pump that we got. actually might have been the largest, right? When we almost hit 3 cents, was about some of the news from Hong Kong. Since many projects and investors have left Hong Kong since the coronavirus, one of the top priorities for the Hong Kong authorities is to once again enhance Hong Kong's appeal as an international financial city. Crypto has become a huge factor. And look at this, crypto is still prohibited in mainland China, but Hong Kong has completely lifted the ban and is in fact very proactive. Again, just because Hong Kong is part of mainland China, since basically, what is it, guys? New Year's 1998, right? I think that's when it happened. When we went from colonial rule, or being part of the former British, um, the whole thing of, excuse me, quote unquote British rule, part of the monarchy. That's the key word I was going for. Excuse me. Um, they still, even though it's under that umbrella of mainland China, you got to keep in mind this sector, is still leaning more towards the, quote unquote, the Western ways, if you will. And I always felt as though that you see a lot of that. Does it go away within the next 5-10 years? It's hard to say, but I don't see any signs. And basically, getting more into this, Genki Oda points out how Hong Kong's proactive. So he said that he felt the Hong Kong market is becoming a hub connecting mainland Chinese investors with overseas markets. They have a panel discussion, and like you see here, specifically, it's about the future of virtual assets in Asia, trends, innovations, regulations. Now, the guy that's second from the left, if you didn't know who he is Genki Oda, right? Chairman of the Japan Virtual and Crypto Assets Exchange Association, aka the JVC. I say EA, okay? Obviously, other big people here, Yang Jinyan, who is the secretary of the Hong Kong Digital Asset Association. You have Duncan Shu of the Legislation Council, member of Technology and Innovations constituency. So a lot of big players. I always mention that Genki Oda is one of the best allies for Jasmy. There, of course, there he is talking, zoomed in. He's on the right. This is a big event, obviously. And at the time that he spoke at the panel, when he was on stage, he talked about the current state of the crypto markets, not just Hong Kong, but Japan, Singapore, and so on. Talked about, for example, remittances, bank accounts, how crypto's done business, how it's improved in a short time. But I love this part right here. And this is, again, back to Samuel Kim of, the screenshot that he took. He explained that self-regulatory organizations are functioning in Japan and that they are successfully compensating for areas that cannot be covered by law. He proposed that Hong Kong establish a self-regulatory organization and how he would be grateful for any cooperation in this regard. He's also announced that he will do so without any changes. Back to the reference from Samuel. Let's not get into that yet, we did before, I should say. But he had this example about Japan, about self-regulation, and that virtually 100% of customer assets being managed in cold wallets, and how he feels as though this measure has to be successful with no hacking, damage caused by domestic businesses, and so on. And he's, he introduced basically what he hasn't quite done yet, but a little bit of obviously what he did in the past. He goes on to state this: there has to be, this thing of the reviewing of operational structure, and how he feels as though that you got to have something in which you got to establish implementing voluntary anti-money laundering measures, right? Gives everybody a history lesson of Bitcoin. At some point, he even lets people know about the introduction of, for example, Bitcoin ATMs, I believe, in Japan in 2017. But this part about, the ability to conduct transactions with zero trust and low cost. Talks about the whole thing about African market. Obviously, we know that Ripple and Stellar are really expanding there. But again, some of these things mentioned, okay? So it gives a timeline for 2019 to 2024, the impact of all these accounts. But what's really interesting is when he gives the table trends here, and he breaks it down to the, these companies about domestic crypto asset openings, and the whole thing about released data for February, as in this year, and how there's over 9.5 million accounts, and the number is expected to reach 10 million accounts in regards to some of these domestic crypto asset account openings. Okay, so while we put so much focus on ETFs, keep in mind what they got going on, right? Especially in Japan. All right, and here's what's bolded. I will mention this as well. 10 million accounts is equivalent to 10% of the Japanese population. Crypto asset trading is no longer a minor thing, but is becoming widespread among the people. As this market becomes more active, not only in Europe and the United States, but also in Asia and Japan, or I should say Japan will once again consider it from a financial perspective as well from business perspective. He felt it necessary to reevaluate the potential of crypto from his perspective as well. Talks about the whole thing about ETFs for a second. I know there's a lot verbatim, but this is good stuff. You don't see this guy mentioning a lot of things all the time. And him and his connections to Jasmy, we'll get in here in a bit just in case you're new. But he says there have been many things that can be done, such as tax reform, which happened on April 1st, ETFs and leverage reform, while continuing to strengthen security and implement through anti-money laundering measures. Genki Oda feels as though that there's a need to do what needs to be done for Japan. You know, here in the United States, we talk about creating things that, make sense in regards to, America first. In Japan, when it comes to, them, I mean, good God, it's like protecting just that, their citizens first. I guess you could say some of these digital assets second, but in reality, it is actually first. I mean, here in the United States, we don't have anything even close to this, right? Not at all. Jumping more into this, on the outline, comparatively speaking, Japan been praised over the past few years of having strong regulations of crypto. And this is what makes Jasmy stand out so much, because they were the first to be regulatory compliant in a country that has stronger regulations than even the United States. I mean, some people feel as though the United States doesn't really even have proper regulations, and that's true. But he says if we remain complacent, we will soon be overtaken. He was able to realize this once again. And you guys see that interview a while back, not too long ago. You had a key player from A-Star being interviewed. I can't remember his particular name, but he was talking about how Japan missed the boat when it came to Web 2. And they don't want to miss the boat again when it comes to Web 3, right? Recognizing that they need to bring it back to like the glory days of Japan. Embracing technology. Japan has always been looked upon as a country that stood out for technology, and hence why you recognize some key brands like Panasonic, Sony, et cetera, Toshiba, right? So I know it's a lot to get into, but this part, again, is the aha moment for me. He says, by participating in this event, he was able to see the keywords for the future of the crypto industry. And here you go. He says, that's DPIN, abbreviation for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks, which refers to Distributed Physical Infrastructure Networks. Again, I just read that twice, so I don't know why I did that. But DPIN, you see here, and then this citation really got me, because I said, my God, MS, here's your aha moment that you've been waiting for. And KDDI, tomorrow together. So look at this. This is really big, because for one, we know DeepIn, especially with Junction, right? And we know there's lots of other AI-related projects with DeepIn. That's what makes it really stand out. But Japan Tokyo Electric Power Company and KDDI recently announced their DeepIn initiative partnership with DEA, not our DEA. And this was exactly the keyword. When the crypto is used in infrastructure development in the real world, a new value will emerge. When I see things like this, especially when it comes to electric power, and I think of Tadashi Morita. I know maybe you guys get tired of me talking about him as well, all right? There's a period of time where I talk too much about Genki Oda. But Tadashi Morita, with his DC microgrid patents and so on, all this is right up this alley, 110%. And we will confirm some things, right? It's not just fluff. No way. As I elaborate more about this, he says here, Genki Oda, when crypto is used in infrastructure development in the real world, a new value will emerge. This be in relation to the personal data locker? Hear me out. But he says people are skeptical about crypto assets are asking, quote, what is the fundamental value of crypto assets? Genki mentions there are still opinions that crypto assets are different from things that have value like gold. I can't read this citation. Somebody like maybe level 8 can do it if he chooses to do so. But mentioned above, blockchain itself is in fact a digital asset that is highly resistant to tampering with information. And again, this is what stands out for me when it comes to Japan, especially Jasmy and so on, is action, reaction. Don't get it twisted, guys. Understand the bigger picture for even the big news about Microsoft, right? That was the previous outline that we had earlier. As we get more into this, you will see some of these other key things about, the issuer, not the state or a specific organization, but the issue is created by a program, and the amount of issuance is open. The supply amount shall not be arbitrarily manipulated. The price must be fair and determined by market. Interesting. What's cited here? Well, it's 2023, but you do have some of those examples about BTC and even Ethereum. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more about this because it's good stuff. And I know this is quite a bit to get into, but like he says, in reality, BTC's market capitalization exceeds the combined market capitalization of companies listed on the TSE with a market capitalization of, for example, 10 trillion yen. It exceeds the daily trading volume of the entire TSE. Here's a breakdown of that. Clearly, you can see Bitcoin, I guess the top right would represent gold. And then maybe even on the top left, I don't know if that's real world assets, but interesting. It says gold, which is often compared with gold. Again, the loss of translation, all right? It's okay. Actually, it has no underlying asset. Believe that the correct way to look at the value of crypto assets is to recognize that they are first assets in history whose prices can be determined fairly in the market and whose values can be openly and fairly evaluated by anyone using a program. Crypto market will continue to move into a new phase. He feels that many are being asked once again how they demonstrate their own value in this environment. Again, this is posted April 6, 2024. Here's a little bit more background of him. Genki. He's a social entrepreneur, investor. He also is executive officer at SBI Holdings, like I pointed out before. This part is your aha moment, just in case you're new to Jasmy. Executive director of BitPoint, Japan. He's also part of the World Economic Forum. I know, not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. So he's well connected. And when you take it over to this, and again, I meant to share this earlier because he mentioned Deepin. Well, who's at the forefront of this, right? So, boom, there's Junction, there's Deepin, AI permissionless chain incubated by Jasmy community. We know that Hara heads this up, and Hara is obviously thanking people that he's getting better with his English, right? But look at this. He's thanking for the invite of this event from YBB Capital. What are they? Web3 fund driving the future through innovative investments, businesses, so on and so forth. So again, back to even what Genki mentioned. Okay, jumping into this, here's the KDDI connection. This is really good stuff because remember how you saw it from the listing from Genki about KDDI. Let's jump into this. Just double checking the settings real quick. Okay, we're good. So on this, you have these initiatives. I'm going to blow this up a little bit more. All right. Maybe just a tad bit more. Okay. So what's it say? February 20th, 2024, initiatives towards a connected mobility society. Collaborating with Toyota for the early implementation of a safe and secure society. Now keep in mind, Genki, Jasmy, Toyota, WITS, all these things, right? Utilizing IoT and other sources, KDDI is advancing initiatives towards the realization of connected mobility society. Collaborating with Toyota, KDDI will start providing a solution in spring of 2024, which we're in right now, as an initiative to bring about a safe and secure mobility society. This solution involves big data. Guys, look at this stuff. Are we paying attention to this? Are we talking about, Caroline and pogo sticks? So this solution involves big data of people and vehicle movements, as well as open data such as past traffic accident information. And it's analyzed by what? AI. Analyzed by AI. Huh. Interesting. Who also does this? Junction, Deepin, AI. Incubated by who? Jasmy. Interesting. Okay. Do you have more? Yeah, I have more. Visualizes risky places. Since October 30, 2020, the companies have aimed to realize a society in which towns, homes, people, vehicles are all connected, jointly working on quote unquote research and development of communication technologies and connected car technologies, as well as development of services that enrich people's lives. Huh. Bringing about green mobility society. Remember how we talked about the Race Cup Consortium? How many times do we talk about what Jasmy's looking to do in regards to a green, carbon-free society? Look at this. Bringing about safe and secure mobility society. Initiatives towards the realization of all this. Look at all the citations or references, where you want to call it. AI, cloud, energy management, the bigger picture of KDDI and Toyota towards the realization of all that. You have some of the stuff about the background. But this part's cool. The utilization of digital twins generated from KDDI's human travel data, Toyota's vehicle data, and open data such as the number of traffic accidents. Now, this is your aha moment, because you want to know something? Going forward, when we were talking about Tadashi Morita, we confirmed on the IEEE page about his patents. We referenced those patents. Again, watch that old deep dive if you're new. And then also was cited literally right below Tadashi Morita's many different publications was, for example, like cell batteries and stuff like that. But what was also mentioned was in regards to CMOS image sensors. Let me say what you want. That's big when it comes to IoT. As we get more into this, you will see this thing about communicated vehicles and the realization of safe, secure, connected devices. Again, everything we've been talking about tonight, even with the previous outline on the live show. Talks about a background on all this, climate changes, efforts to reduce CO2. Again, this is all right up Jasmy's alley. Okay, reducing CO2 emissions, all this stuff. What about a little bit more about KDDI, though, and specifically Toyota? Well, if you aren't aware of it, KDDI and Toyota will combine their services and state-of-the-art technologies to revitalize new mobility experience, including the time spent inside the car and making travel more fun. More fun, huh? Wow, that's really interesting. Because last I saw, when it comes to the Jasmy white paper, talks about specifically data harmonization, platinum data harmonization. And, some of the stuff about mobility as a service, MaaS. Remember how we did all these deep dives for, I don't know, a year and a half or so now or more? Not just me, other members of our community, right? Bringing you guys all this stuff. Mobility as a service, Jasmy with software as a service. You see how it all comes together? Let's elaborate a little bit more about this and pound it home that much more. Going forward, KDDI and Toyota will combine their services, right? Information to advance research developments as a service developed for a connected mobile society. And there's this attachment, this theme, I should say. Bringing about safe and secure mobility society, KDDI and Toyota advancing efforts to implement society risky place scoring, vehicle to bike, a system for alerting drivers with a car and bicycle location information connected to monitoring centers. Aha! Monitoring centers. That's interesting because, you know, in the past we talked about some of these concepts. It's not just, you know, Transcosmos is a different example, but there is going to be monitoring centers. And you better believe every monitoring center is going to need to protect that data that they're monitoring. I really feel as though this is where Jasmy comes into place. What about a little bit more about AI and KDDI? What's the overview? So there was an AI analysis of KDDI's location information collected in a 10-meter increment at intervals short as several minutes. User attributes of information, gender, age, personal identification data. Yeah, from smartphone signups. Interesting. I don't have it as we speak. I didn't think about this part, but it's okay. I'm human. Shout out to our brother, Icy Amphibian, because on Reddit, what did he point out? He also pointed out those examples, those visuals in regards to smartphone and basically the personal identification data in that regard and why it's so crucial to understand some of these things. So for me, I'm thinking to myself, all this stuff adds up. You just got to be willing to research it. You know, some of these people that I see, nothing against them. They'll come in and then they'll be like, they just want literally 10 seconds. It's just like, yeah, you know what? I used to have students like that. No offense to them, where they just want to skate by and they just barely want to pass the class. Okay. And as a result, they do pass the class barely with at the skin of their teeth. Mr. Stanley, can I pass this class with a 59.9%? Yeah, you're going to have to turn in something for that extra credit, but that's all they want to do. Are you one of those type of people that do that? Or do you want to be informed about what you're invested in and why you're invested into it and have an understanding of the broader picture? When I do another particular live show with you guys, I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of chopping some of this stuff up. It's not necessarily time sensitive. It's understanding that you could very well be paper handing Jasmy at $1 to $5 exit. All right. I know that sounds bold, but I'm going to back that up. All right. And I know that a lot of people didn't attend the Jasmy 8th year, you know, X Space anniversary event, and that's okay, you know, but I will bring that to you guys. So expect that. You're going to want to listen to that. Not financial advice, but for me personally, I had to reevaluate what I'm going to do for the future when it comes to my Jasmy holding. A little bit more about this because, I mean, come on, not every day we get to talk about Toyota. So Toyota's probe data and automotive network data. That's funny, CAN data. You know, shout out to Rob, right? You know, up in Canada. Rob, you're part of that CAN data because you're Canadian. Anyway, shout out to our brother Rob. And open data such as road features and the number of traffic accidents, the system visualizes risk levels in grids. Back to Merida. So if you have Merida that literally has made patents that tie into the whole thing of DC microgrid technology, and you have everything literally being handed to you on a silver platter as far as the information and connecting everything to the bigger picture of things, why are people still so surprised to see Jasmy move first? I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. More into this, you have this whole thing of the risk level of the grids consisting of approximately 50 meter cells and allowing users to see the risks. Those factors such as the ratio of elderly pedestrians and elderly cyclists and the proportion of suddenly braking cars in target locations, thus enabling the systems to be utilized for various traffic safety work, including data-based devising of effective traffic measures such as needs for installing new road signs. Again, having something in regards to CMOS image sensors would be right up this alley. And what happened when you saw Jasmy take off from the 0.0056 to over a penny, 2 pennies, and so on? It was the announcement of, for example, Hong Kong going all deep into Japan for semiconductors. Say what you want. That was incredibly interesting. Action reaction. All right, what about this for a second? And I will elaborate more about this when I give you guys more of that breakdown from the, you know, the coverage from Dip Metaverse and also Brian. And I was a little bit of a guest, but I didn't really, add a whole lot to it. But data used, look at this for a second. KDDI data. This is why we reference KDDI. It says number of pedestrians, number of cycles, age, etc. What about Toyota's data? Number of vehicles, average car speeds, number of sudden, accelerations. Probably not pronouncing that right. Decelerations. Number of monetary stops, ratio of vehicles turning left, right, so on and so forth. All that is valuable data. What about open data? Road properties, number of traffic accidents, etc. Again, when we give you those examples of Jasmy working with the government, you can see how it all comes together. This is not something which we just decided to do a bunch of research and be like, oh, this is cool. This is more than cool. This is literally understanding that if you got into crypto because you heard that topic of cryptocurrency, you wanted to see how that was going to be used to pay for goods and services and so on. How would you like to have one that literally ties into all these things? Literally the Internet of Things, right? Human travel data. Again, everything that was referenced, right? We just mentioned it. How does AI come into the whole bigger picture? All right, I want to show you guys this overview real quick. Vehicle to X. It's a solution that enables interactions and connections between cars, various things. First step towards implementation, KDDI data, Toyota developing technology that utilizes the location information of cars, two-wheel vehicles. I'm going to see if I could pull this up just for you guys who are newcomers, but, it's really interesting when you see some of this. Hold on a second. Just a second. Let's see if I could pull that up from actually, Mr. Icy Amphibian. And maybe I don't necessarily have it, but this is good too. This is actually a citation from 2 years ago, if you can imagine that, from Dip Metaverse. Look what it says, because I did need to give you guys a little bit more. Professional accomplishments of our beloved Tadashi Morita. What does it mention? Professional accomplishments. Development of open energy systems from 2013 to 2022. Development of AC microgrid systems. Again, all this stuff we talked about. Development of the battery-supported bidirectional instantaneous current control inverter. Invented peer-to-peer energy exchange system. What about DC, though? Well, he invented the arc-free technology for DC circuit. What about the whole thing of contributing to the set of international standards, IEC? Yeah, he did that too. Research for open system dependability, Felica. Again, it's all there. And it's always worth pointing out. At least, I feel as though. All right, look at this for a second. The alerts to drivers in advance. And look at this, autonomous emergency brake system. I mean, all this is data that's being captured. Cars, smartphones, sensors, information. You don't think that a PDL would be used about this? Here's the thing, guys. The constant references to Toyota, like you see it again right there, server information Toyota, vehicle information Toyota, mobile network KDDI, vehicle safety and security, early detection, all this stuff. What about something in regards to May? That's coming up. Yeah, May. What's their initiatives, guys? Their initiatives is to bring about a green mobile society. The parties that open up a small data center. The ones that utilize immersive cooling technology. And the ones that have been conducting field experiments to process large amounts of data on the network edge. Network edge. Come on, guys. Think about that for a second. Network edge. Do you understand where we're really going with this? We talked about edge computing multiple times. Not just me. Members of the Jasmy Research Consortium. Talk about edge computing. Now you have the whole thing with AI. You kind of have an idea of where we're going with this. I think you do. And I do appreciate people like MS that took the liberty to get more into this, design your road trip. I mean, all this stuff, right? National, and boom, how about this? National Police Agency, right? All these citations, all of it, right? It's not fluff. So much things to cite here. All right, back to this about Genki Oda. Shout out to Houston, another great researcher. I've also covered some of these things as well in the past, but I do appreciate what he has. He says, quote, a picture, guys, think about this. A picture is worth 1,000 words. You know, some people get upset when I post something that's old. They're like, oh, why you post something old? It's called an outline. You got to post and share the past, the present, and an idea of where we're going in the future. So look at this. And thank you again, Houston, if you ever happen to watch this. Pictures 1,000 words, or worth 1,000 words. In the comments section, you will find an old article, interview with Genki Oda and who? Kazumasa Sato. This was cited from Bloomberg. I cite them all the time when it comes to those updates in regards to Investor Place. I didn't see anything super bullish or worth mentioning this week for Investor Place. I do apologize on that. But if it's something worth sharing, I definitely will. So you see them. Japan crypto exchanges seek loser margin trading, right? Genki Oda. There's a picture of literally Genki Oda on the left and Jasmy's Kazumasa Sato on the right. You know? And that was from an old article from, was it 2023? But it's definitely worth pointing out. Definitely worth pointing out. What about this? A little bit more from Genki Oda. This is from note.com/Genki Oda. Blockchain makes it possible. The near future Web3. We posted about this before. March 17, 2022. Bitpoint. Japan. Genki Oda. Blockchain makes it possible. The near future Web3. Posted by him. Genki Oda. Who is he? Founder and CEO of Bitpoint. And gives you the whole background about this. Is there a Jasmy connection? Just in case you're new. Guys, understand. A lot of you guys already know this. But there's a lot of new people into Jasmy and they don't. Look at this. Genki Oda invited to speak at the 23rd Japan International Financial System Forum 2022, held till March 17, 2022. The topic of near future Web3, achieved with blockchain. This time he participated in a panel discussion together with Mr. Kazumasa Sato, president of Jasmy Corporation, the project parent company of crypto asset Jasmy, which was listed on Bitpoint last October of, obviously, was it 2021? Goes on to mention Japan International Financial System Forum. It's an annual forum mainly for financial institutions. Understand, even Jasmy's plugged to finance democracy. And since then, the participants are mainly from financial institutions. Again, mainly from what financial institutions? This is your plug of why Jasmy has entered a while back last year, that announcement of finance democracy. Get used to it. You're going to see more about it. But the sessions are professional and they're high quality. And of course, the whole thing of discussing, even back then, the topic, I should say, of crypto assets, blockchain, and how blockchain makes it possible for the near future of Web3. We are in that future. Here's a profile about him just a little bit more. It says, since he started his business in 2001, Genki Oda has been supporting venture social entrepreneurs, business turnarounds. Again, it wasn't just Shinzo Abe in 2015. You had Genki Oda all the way back in 2001. Founded the first company, Student, DAS, 2002, supported for entrepreneurs. 2003 started venture investments, just like we talked about in regards to the coverage from the one and only Tim Draper when it came to Swiftcoin. You know what I mean? Notice how all these guys, very similar thing. Birds of feather flock together. 2011 started a business turnaround. Received medal with dark blue ribbon. We talked about some of these things, right? But when I say that this guy is Jasmy's one of their most important allies, you literally see it. Just in case you've never seen this before. Director of Japan Crypto Asset Business Associates, JCABA, I guess you could say. There's JVCEA, also Japan Virtual and Crypto Asset Exchange Association, vice chairman. What about the FSA, right? That's the Japanese version of the SEC, licensed cryptocurrency exchange. So all this stuff, just in case you've never seen it, Bitcoin's philosophy, making tomorrow be better. And of course, here's the big thing. Bitcoin listed Jasmy from October 26, 2021, first in Japan, Jasmy. So again, you have to always remember and never dismiss the presented material. If you're still wondering why you saw Jasmy literally move first, it's again, where are we at? Japan is leaps and bounds ahead of us in the United States and other places in the world. It shouldn't be any surprise when you take more of your own deep dive into some of these things. Now, in conclusion, I want to leave you guys with this. Genki Oda of SBI Japan stated that in Japan, Tokyo Electric Power Company and Kddi recently announced their D-PIN initiative in partnership with the DEA. And this was exactly the key word. When crypto is used in infrastructure development, for example, you have to keep in mind, you will see the development in the real world, like new value, and which ones will emerge, right? What is the fundamental value of some of these assets, like he talked about? So you have to keep in mind that utilizing IoT and other resources, Kddi is advancing initiatives towards the realization of a connected mobile society, like we talked about before. But it's this collaboration, everybody, in regards to Toyota, right? Where Kddi will start providing a solution. And in the spring that we're currently in, 2024, this is why this is worth pointing out. And let me elaborate on this in conclusion to wrap up the coverage of the night. In that passage from Genki Oda, Toyota, Kddi, the whole shebang, you have to keep in mind there's several positive implications, for Japan, Kddi, and even Jasmy. So for Japan, it's understanding the infrastructure, the development with crypto. Japan is at the forefront, like I mentioned, of exploring specifically cryptocurrency's potential in real-world applications like infrastructure. Again, if you missed the whole coverage of Microsoft, you want to go back to that. And it's the infrastructure, like the development and how that evolves. But this could lead to new forms of value creation and economic growth. I think it is. Those citations that we gave you earlier, even referencing what's going on from a defense point of view for Japan by keeping their country, quote unquote, safe even from cyber attacks, by having literally legislation that was written into policy dating back to from 2014 and being solidified to go further with the late great Shinzo, I got all these names mixed up. Shinzo Abe's address to the nation and even to the United States was massive, right? And to see that snowball effect to where we're at now is absolutely profound. But it's that whole thing of value creation and economic growth. You have to understand, by addressing skepticism about crypto like Genki Odo did, it demonstrates practical applications of crypto in essential sectors, like, obviously, infrastructure. Japan can address skepticism by surrounding cryptocurrencies' fundamental use case and value. Now, in regards to Kddi, since it was mentioned tonight, they position themselves as a leader in connected mobility. Now, what is another example of being a leader in connected mobility that recently happened with Jasmy not that long ago, like over a couple weeks ago? It was about the whole thing of, the partnership of Jasmy and Panasonic. But I gave you guys solid evidence and actual research to show you what's going on in Kansas, what's going on in Oklahoma, what's going on in Nevada. And it's that Panasonic connection to Tesla when we talk about cell batteries, and we talked about the patents of Tadashi Morita, and how you literally see the publications of what he's done in regards to quote unquote cell batteries, right? And that's big because it also reference things like CMOS image sensors. And as we know, when it comes to Tesla vehicles, they have a lot of IoT all around the car. So this whole thing of KDDI to position themselves as a leader in connected mobility, in the perspective from Japan, is massive. But KDDI's collaboration with Toyota, right? You heard me right. With Toyota, it's considered quote unquote risky place scoring, does in fact position KDDI as a leader in developing solutions for a safe and secure connected mobility society. It's the indirect partnerships and it's the indirect things that are plugging into one thing that leads to another. See what you want. It's like even if you had a particular gaming device, right? Do you necessarily buy everything from that particular gaming device by that brand? Let's say it was Nintendo. No, you wouldn't. You would buy third-party stuff and plug it in. You should literally look at things like it's not about one connector from one brand. It's many connectors from many brands to solve a particular use case. Should you treat Jasmy in that light? Well, you're going to have to answer that for yourself. But I want everybody to keep in mind that the bottom line for KDDI, Toyota, Jasmy, and so on is securing a connected mobility society, right? As far as what was recently announced. How can we leverage big data and AI? Hear me out on this as well. KDDI's utilization of big data, AI, and open data does in fact showcase their capabilities in cutting edge technologies. Again, back to the reference I was talking about earlier, edge computing or edge AI. Ever wonder why we point that out as far as us researchers and so on? It's a big deal because it attracts more partnerships. They understand where we're going with this new world and new technology, Web3. But in conclusion, to close it out, we have to obviously mention the last part. And is it Jasmy? Is it implied that they will have a potential role in DPIN and the initiative? Well, we know what the answer is. The answer is yes. And if you're saying the answer is no, have you even looked into the concept of specifically Janction? And for me, for a lot of people, I don't think they have, unless you're on X, right? So here is Janction once again. And what is referenced once again? DPIN, AI, permissionless, incubated by Jasmy community. Who heads it up? Hara-san, right? Yeah, Mr. Hara. So that's obviously what worth pointing out. And you have to keep in mind that Jasmy in itself, this passage in regards to the role in DPIN and that initiative, it's a collaboration, guys. Don't overthink it. When it comes to Tokyo Electric Power Company, KDDI, I think there's something there. It'll be revealed at the end of the day. While we won't see nothing officially yet, I think that will come into fruition. That's just my own personal belief. But guess what? I haven't been wrong on a lot of stuff so far. And while Jasmy is not explicitly mentioned, their focus on secure data sharing in IoT environments does in fact align themselves with DPIN's goals. Again, reference Hara if you don't believe me. Reference the whole thing of Janction. It's literally there. You just got to be willing to look more into it. But it does align with DPIN's goals, and it does suggest the whole notion of a potential role for Jasmy, of course, in the initiative. What about the whole thing of like, does this align with KDDI's focused area? Well, Jasmy's focus in itself on secure data monetization does in fact align with KDDI's initiatives in connecting mobility and enriching people's lives through technology. Again, back to the white paper. Data harmonization, platinum data, right? We talk about Bitcoin and digital gold. This is platinum data. And last I checked, isn't platinum still worth more in gold in some places? You know, because it doesn't tarnish. I don't know. Call it what you want. Don't shoot the messenger. But in my opinion, it does suggest potential collaboration opportunities, especially when we connect everything. And we really did connect with the whole thing of the bigger picture of like, yeah, you know, um, Toyota and so on, right? Overall, I want you all to keep in mind that these things tied into Japan's tech sector, KDDI potentially playing a leading role in all of this, and Jasmy having opportunities to contribute through its data security solutions. How? By all the things we showed, all those things in regards to like the traffic, car accidents happening, stop signs, who slammed on their brakes, what pedestrians are walking across the street, how old are they, how young are they, who's on their phones, you know, things like that. While the text that we got into today doesn't explicitly mention any confirmed collaborations between KDDI and Jasmy, in my opinion, it's already there. How do we know that? Because Genki Oda is already there, right? And him being shown with Jasmy and him all in on Jasmy years ago solidifies this thesis, if you want to call it, of that. If you still are a person that, you know, I'm not trying to convince you necessarily to believe the same way I do, but guys, let's just be honest. There was a time in which nobody even believed in the whole thing of Jasmy and Panasonic, you know, but us researchers, we pointed out some of those things a long time ago. You know, Jesse over 2 years ago, myself about a year and a half ago. A lot of us talked about this. Are you going to see things pop off when it's too late? Are you even into Jasmy? You only want to get in when the price is sky high. That would set you up for failure. The key thing, like anything, is to get in when it's still a good time to have an entry point. So with that said, guys, I wanted to conclude this, bring it to you guys. Take it as you will. I just provide information. It's not financial advice. Some of you guys ask what cold storage solution I use. I use this, and it is the Decent wallet. All right. I also, of course, have a ledger like this. All right. You can get a discount basically from going into the affiliate link, which is in all the live video descriptions and recorded and so on. And for the yahoos that are out there, they're like, this is just a shield. And, you know, we'll fix point this out. And it's a great point. Were you aware that you don't necessarily get a discount link just going straight to the site? No, you actually have to go through a platform like this. So how cool is that? You know, I don't think anybody's complaining about that. But anyway, use the link, get a discount. There's another one here. If you're the type of person you want to get one for you and your, you know, significant other, you can get two of them. They actually have another promotion, which is this, and I think this is cool. You can get an all-in-one card wallet plus backup card package. Interesting. I thought that was cool. And again, one of the main key things I like about the Decent wallet is not having to do the red tape of, you know, jumping through all the hoops for XDC and the custom folder. I mean, Edward Vincent can vouch on that. Some of you guys can too as well in regards to Ledger. That was a pain in the butt. You don't have that problem. You literally open up your phone, it's on your app, track everything that's going on, right? And, you know, saying goes, not your keys, not your crypto. You know the drill. Check it all out, though, if you wish to do so. It is truly the cold storage solution that I use for the most part. There's still some on Ledger that, you know, I kind of split it up on and so on. So it is what it is. But if I have preference over one, I'm going with this one. A lot easier to use and so on. And some people, even to this day, still ask me which one to use.